What's up, boxing fans? Gilberto Torres Jr. with Torres Boxing, and wow, what a fight! Manny Pacquiao beats Keith Thurman by split decision. Entertaining, great action, had me on the edge of my seat the entire 12 rounds. And congratulations to Manny Pacquiao. This is such an impressive win, in my opinion. This is Manny Pacquiao at 40 years of age. 24 years deep into a professional career. He's done it all. I'm not going to list all of his accomplishments. We all know what Pacquiao has accomplished. We know the type of fighter that he is and the mark that he's left in the sport. And here he is at 40 years of age, defeating Keith Thurman, who came into this fight as an undefeated world champion in his prime, stronger, younger, top 3-5 welterweight in the world. And this is what Manny Pacquiao did. He defeated him and captured the WBA super welterweight title. What an impressive win by Manny Pacquiao. Coming into this fight, it was very hard to pick a winner. As much of a fan as I am of Pacquiao's, I was looking at this fight as really a big challenge for him. Probably the biggest challenge of his, since he fought Mayweather 4 years ago. And it was really a pick 'em fight at some points. You had the advantages that Thurman brought to the table. You had the advantages that Pacquiao brought to the table. You had the uncertainties. Was Pacquiao gonna get old overnight? Was Thurman gonna be the same fighter that fought Josecito Lopez back in January? There was a lot of question marks surrounding this fight. And I believe that those question marks were answered. I think we got answers for a lot of those question marks. And Manny Pacquiao picks up a split decision and very impressive win, in my opinion. And the questions surrounding Pacquiao were, how was he gonna look coming into this fight? Was he gonna look old? We all know, and I, me as a Pacquiao fan, I can be honest about this. I can admit that Pacquiao is not the same Pacquiao 5-10 years ago. He's a little bit more diminished, which isn't a bad thing, because I've said it all along. Pacquiao can still go. He has enough gas left in the tank. A really great fighter in the prime of his career. In his decline, the twilight of his career, he's evening out with a lot of these other welterweights. Still better than a lot of them. So the fact that he still has physical attributes, has good reflexes, good speed, good power, you couple that with the 24 years of experience that he brings to the table, and that equates to a very dangerous opponent even at 40, because that means that if Pacquiao can't move the way he used to, his experience can help him adapt to those situations where maybe he can't do the same things he used to, but his experience allows him to navigate those waters. And that's the Pacquiao that we saw tonight. We saw Pacquiao that yes, he is diminished, but only to a certain extent. He's not shot. He's not a faded fighter. He still has gas left in the tank, and he proved that tonight. I was really impressed when in the first round he knocked down Keith Thurman. I wasn't expecting that at all. There's a lot of hype, a lot of promotion, a lot of build up to this fight. Both sides were saying this is not going to go the distance. And, you're on the edge of your seat the minute it starts, and this is what you get. Pacquiao comes out strong and knocks him down, stuns Thurman. It wasn't a punch that necessarily hurt him, but it was a punch that caught him off guard, and he just was surprised. He understood, I think, from that moment on that, hey, this is Pacquiao. And that all that trash talk, all that stuff that he said towards Pacquiao against him, fell on deaf ears. It was something that that kind of woke Thurman up and made him realize that, hey, this is not the shot fighter you thought you were gonna get. This is a live fighter. This is Manny Pacquiao, and Pacquiao looked very impressive in those opening rounds. He hurt Thurman, and Thurman got back up. And there was rounds there in the middle of the rounds where Thurman was competitive, where he did land some solid shots. There was a big, I want to say it was I'm not sure if it was the left or right hand, but there was a big punch there that did connect on Manny hard. And Manny has a great chin, and he took that punch. So he didn't Manny at no point in the fight did he look significantly hurt. He looked good throughout the entire fight. And like I said, there was rounds there where Thurman did pick up the pace, but there was certain points there where Thurman looked like he was about to get off, where he did land some significant punches on Pacquiao, but at the same time he respected Pacquiao's power enough to not go in for the kill. He understood that that was dangerous waters, that was dangerous territory to try and get into, because there was moments there where he did connect on Pacquiao, but he understood that Pacquiao also packs a punch, and that in one of those exchanges he could be in danger of being knocked out. And so for the most part, Pacquiao's power, his experience, kept Thurman at bay and didn't allow him to get off on anything significant. Now, coming into this fight, a lot of the talk, a lot of the criticism on Pacquiao from his recent two fights, in particular, Broner, Lucas Matisse, some of that criticism was that, hey, it's easy to look good against a fighter that's not throwing back at you, but Thurman is going to be a fighter that's going to throw at you. And so that, for a moment there did start kind of getting into my mindset, because for the most part I do believe that had a lot to do with Pacquiao's presence. It had to do a lot with Pacquiao's awkwardness, the way that he still throws punches and bunches. Maybe not the same output that he used to have in his prime, but he's still a fighter that doesn't allow his opponents to really get off on their combinations and things like that. So it was a factor of those things. I understand that Broner has had a hard time letting his hands go in big fights, and Matisse obviously was retired as soon as that he lost to Pacquiao. So there was some question marks in there. How would Pacquiao react against the prime elite welterweight, a fighter that was going to throw back at him? And Pacquiao reacted very good. Pacquiao came and there was moments there where you saw vintage Pacquiao. There was moments, and it was just impressive, his hand speed. It's still there. And like I said, even if some of his physical attributes have diminished by a bit, he still got gas left in the tank, and I was really impressed with Pacquiao's performance, because he came back. He hurt Thurman with a big body shot in the later rounds. There was moments there where he almost could have had him out. Again, yes, this is a Pacquiao that's not necessarily the Pacquiao of old. Maybe the Pacquiao of old would have had an easier time getting rid of him. Maybe he would have gone, not to say that Pacquiao wasn't going for the kill, but I feel like the Pacquiao of old may have had more gas left in the tank to actually go in and get Thurman out of there. And like I said, not to say that Pacquiao is shot, but I'm realistic enough to realize that he's not the Pacquiao of old, but this Pacquiao at 40 is a great fighter who meshes his experience with the physical attributes that he still possesses. And very great performance by Manny Pacquiao showed that he can still go. He defeated a top 3, in my opinion. I know earlier on I said top 3 to 5 welterweight, but I think Thurman deserves to have been on top 3 and the third name in there, behind, because before his hiatus, Thurman was considered the number 1 welterweight by many people. But obviously after he got hurt, he gave room for Spence and Crawford to kind of creep in there and take over those 2 spots. Who was on top? Well, that's for you guys to decide. But Thurman's inactivity kind of left room for them to get in there. But in that time, obviously, Porter has suffered some losses. Garcia too has suffered some losses, and so really the only undefeated fighters in welterweight were Keith Thurman, Crawford, and Spence. And so if we're gonna list him in there, obviously due to the inactivity, he's still a world champion. So Keith Thurman at best is the number 3 best welterweight in the world. So with all that being said, Pacquiao has essentially defeated a top 3 welterweight. That's exactly what happened. It's not about essentially. He did defeat a top 3 welterweight at 40 years of age. So that there is just impressive. I've always said that these sort of wins, even if Pacquiao would have lost, it's not going to diminish his legacy at all. But a win, in my opinion, does add to it because for everything that it is. He's 40 years of age. He just defeated a prime undefeated world champion, 10 years younger than him, and that was just a masterful performance by Pacquiao. Thurman looked strong. He looked better than he did against Josecito Lopez. I always thought that he looked good in those rounds, in the opening rounds with Josecito Lopez. Yes, I'm sure there was some ring rust there, but it wasn't too out of the ordinary. He got stunned by Lopez. That's where his whole style changed up. I felt like he looked good, and because there wasn't a significant amount of ring rust that I saw in that fight with Lopez. I thought it was just more about him getting caught with a great punch by Lopez. I expected him to come into this fight more like the Thurman of old, and I think that's what we got. We got a Thurman that looked strong, no signs of ring rust. It was more just the fact that he was in there with a great fighter. He respected Pacquiao's power. He felt it. He knew that Pacquiao could punch. And he had his moments in there too. I'm not going to take anything away from Thurman. He had moments there where he landed some heavy shots on Pacquiao. But Pacquiao obviously has a very sturdy chin. But Thurman looked good. And because of that, because there was no sort of like excuses, there was no visible ring rust, I think this is good news for everyone involved, because you could say, hey, Pacquiao defeated the best version of Keith Thurman, and just a very, very great, entertaining fight. My final thoughts on this is that I love Manny Pacquiao as a fighter. He's an inspiration to many. He's done everything there is to be done in the sport practically. I don't know what else he has left to prove. Nothing. There's nothing really else that he can accomplish. His legacy is cemented. And with that being said, he picked up a very solid victory tonight. Close, split decision, but I've always, said it in my videos that I would much rather have him retire, call it a career, because, like I said, there's nothing else left to prove for him, and I would much rather he retire and not have to take any more shots. Pacquiao has platforms, other mediums in which he can get money. He can, be able to support his charitable work in his community. I know that obviously maybe it won't compare to the amount of money he gets from boxing, but at the same time, he's got a lot of things going for him where I think he can retire peacefully, retire financially secured without having to worry about where the next dollar is going to come from. And I've always been a proponent of Manny Pacquiao retiring, not because he's shot, not because he can't do it anymore, but because you don't want to see him get hurt. You don't want to see him take any more punishment that he doesn't need to take. He's done it all already, so I would much rather he just call it a day. And the only one fight that I wouldn't mind seeing him in would be a Mayweather rematch. Why? Because that's a fight that's a little bit more even. They're about the same age, about 2-year age difference. Mayweather's a little bit older. Big payday because they're two big names, and that's a payday for Mayweather and for Pacquiao, and Pacquiao could retire after that. If not, right now, if Mayweather has no plans of coming back, even though he was at the fight, he came into the ring right before the bell rung, which always leaves question marks on it, that around that whole scenario, why he's there. But at the same time, if that fight doesn't come about, then I wouldn't be mad if Pacquiao retired. On the contrary, I think I'd feel pretty happy for him, just because he'd leave on a good note. So we'll see what happens. I know he was asked when are you going to fight next. He said next year, so I don't know, we'll see. But for now, I just want to leave it at that. Great performance by Manny Pacquiao. Props to Thurman, too, because he did come to fight. He looked good. Showed no visible signs of ring rust. And Manny Pacquiao consolidates the WBA crown to become the Super World Champion at 40 years of age, defeating Keith Thurman, a top 3 welterweight, undefeated world champion in his prime. And an impressive night for the great Manny Pacquiao. And that's about it, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. What were your thoughts? What do you want to see next from Pacquiao and Thurman? Let me know in the comments section. Subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Give it a thumbs up, guys. And until next time, I'm out, and God bless you.